So you want to know which boosted board to buy? Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to break down my 3 criteria to consider before buying a boosted board. Number 1, your previous riding experience, whether that's a skateboard, surfboard, snowboard, wakeboard, any sort of board sports. Number 2, your primary use case. Why are you buying a boosted board? What are you going to use it for? And then number 3, your budget. Before we dive into the specifics, let's start with a quick overview of the boards. Behind me are the 4 boards that Boosted sells. 2 short boards and then 2 long boards. The Mini S is the cheapest. At $750, you get 3 riding speeds, topping out at 18 miles an hour and a standard range battery. The Mini X costs $1,000, also has 3 riding speeds, but this one tops out at 20 miles an hour, and it comes with an extended range battery that effectively gets you double the range of the Mini S. Then there are the long boards, the Plus and the Stealth, which both come with the extended range battery. The Plus costs $1,400 and has 4 riding modes. Mode 4 tops out at 22 miles an hour. And then there's the Stealth. It's the most expensive and arguably the best board. It costs $1,600 and has a top speed of 24 miles an hour, thanks to the addition of a 5th riding mode. The acceleration is incredible. The Stealth is personally my board of choice, and I'll explain why later in the video. If you plan on traveling on planes with your boosted board, it's important to know that you can only legally fly with the standard range battery. If you purchase a board with an extended range battery, just know that under no circumstances can you fly with it, even if you check it. Also, Boosted makes a very powerful scooter. I've got a full review of the Boosted Rev in the description if that's what you came here looking for. Okay, so like I said a minute ago, I've broken this video down into 3 categories to consider before you buy your boosted board. Again, they are your previous riding experience, your primary use case, and how much you want to spend. Everything I tell you in this video are my own opinions and my own thoughts. There are pros and cons to each of these boards. Boosted is not paying me anything to say any of this. This is not a sponsored video. I've got over 10,000 combined riding miles on boosted boards in the 5 or so years I've been riding boosted in Manhattan. I made this video to help you decide which board is right for you. Let's start with the fundamentals. Have you ever skateboarded before? Experience. This is a very straightforward criteria. Either you have experience riding a board or you don't. Here's what I'll say. If you already know how to ride a skateboard, you've overcome the hardest part about learning to ride a boosted board. That is, balancing on a moving skateboard. However, if you have 0 experience and you're learning to ride for the first time on a boosted board, my recommendation would absolutely be one of the long boards. For first-time riders, it's hard to learn to ride on a short electric skateboard because of the shape and the size of the deck. The shortboard deck is also rigid and quite concave and not flexible like the longboards, which means that if you're learning to ride on anything other than super smooth concrete, it's going to be tough. The flexibility of the longboards makes riding them a much more comfortable experience compared to the minis. Also, there's just more room on the longboards. This allows for a wider and usually more comfortable stance for short or long distance rides. However, if you do have riding experience, there are definitely benefits to the shortboards, like the ability to tic-tac. The minis also have a kicktail for easily grabbing the board, and then the sheer size for portability. And if you happen to be pro skateboarder Andy McDonald, you can do half-pipe transfers on a mini. If you can ride a skateboard well, you'll be good on either the minis or the longboards. What's nice though is that you don't really have to learn to kick push like you do on a regular skateboard. I think this aspect of riding a skateboard, kick pushing, is one of the hardest things to learn when first learning to skate. You theoretically never have to take your feet off the boosted board when riding because it moves for you, something that doesn't exist on a regular skateboard. Look, if you're a first-time rider, don't worry about having terrible balance. You'll learn. Can you stand up and turn sideways? Probably. Can you drive a car? At one point, you had no idea how to drive a car, and now it's probably second nature to you. The same sort of learning logic applies to riding a boosted board. Just give yourself like a week before you give up and return the thing. Use cases. Now let's discuss why you're buying the board in the first place. What is going to be your primary use for a boosted board? Are you commuting on it, specifically going door to door? Or does your commute involve using public transportation? Or are you buying it for leisure, to ride into the sunset on those nice summer weekends? Let's start with the full commute. leaving your house or apartment, putting the board down on the pavement, and then riding all the way to your destination? If so, get a longboard. Whether you're in a big city or a small town, you'll want the real estate of the longboards. The longboards offer a much more comfortable ride because of the flexible deck that acts as a shock absorber, and the sheer size of the board. There's more room to have a wider stance. If your commute involves using public transportation in any form, let's say you walk 10 or 15 minutes to the bus stop, or you get off the subway and walk 5 blocks to the office, the Mini is definitely the better option when it comes to portability. It fits well under desks, it's not as clunky to carry up and down stairs, and it certainly takes up less space when riding the subway or bus. It's also super maneuverable because of its kicktail, which makes picking this thing up much easier than the longboard. Those longboards can be less than ideal to carry around. If you're a college student that wants to rip around campus, the choice is really yours. The Minis are super portable, but the longboards are just, to me, so much more fun to ride. For the leisure folk, if you're buying a boosted board for those Sunday afternoon battery drain sessions, should probably get a longboard. With everything I've talked about so far in this video, I gravitate toward the longboards. It's just personal preference. Price. I will not beat around the bush here. These boosted boards are expensive premium products. Look, there are definitely cheaper alternatives you can go with, but the quality and reliability of boosted boards is unmatched. You get what you pay for when you buy boosted. With that said, I look at it this way. There are the sub $1,000 boards, the minis, and the above $1,000 boards, the long boards. For the sake of simplicity, let's use that $1,000 mark as a category divider. If you've been saving for a while and you're absolutely set on spending less than $1,000, you're limited to the minis, but definitely get a Mini X. I think you'll want that extra top speed and range, but remember, those extended range batteries cannot fly. But if money isn't an object for you, I have to recommend the Stealth. It'd be hard for me to sit here and tell you to spend $1,400 on the Plus when you could just spend $200 more and get the Stealth, which has the higher top speed and faster acceleration. Mode 5, Hyper Mode, is only available on the Stealth. You'd be surprised how fast Mode 5 feels, even in comparison to Mode 4. Aside from these 3 big categories we just spent the last few minutes discussing, there are definitely other things to keep in mind as well. Number 1, always wear a helmet. Always. Number 2, every board comes with 1 charger. Depending on how you'll use your board, I recommend getting a second charger to leave at your destination. It's just nice having 2. A second charger is $80 on Boosted's website, but it easily fits in a backpack or shoulder bag if you don't mind carrying it around. Range anxiety can get the best of you, especially if you have a standard range battery. Number 3, if you use this boosted board to quickly run errands instead of hopping in an Uber, or instead of having a monthly subway card or bus pass, you'll end up saving a few $100s over the lifetime of your board. And number 4, consider buying a boosted board used. The Boosted V2 is still a great board, even though Boosted doesn't make them anymore. Check Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, but of course, be careful about scammers. If you've made it this far in the video and just want to know which board I recommend regardless of any of these factors, it's the Stealth. I like the flexibility of the longboards, and with the Stealth, that top speed and acceleration are something I crave, and now I just can't live without them. If you're new around here, my name is Sam Sheffer, and if you found this video useful, definitely subscribe to my channel. I've got a ton of boosted content specifically linked in the description. I reviewed most of these boards. If you're looking for those are down below. If you have any specific questions that I didn't address in this video, leave them in the comments and I'll be hanging out down there after I publish this. And as always, thank you for watching.